Amid swirling dust, the honey badger steps into a path not meant for hesitation. Its small frame conceals endurance and a capacity for sudden response. It does not rely on speed, but uses terrain and every opening that appears. Against larger opponents, agility becomes the advantage that helps maintain control. But this time, how far will that relentless instinct carry the solitary animal? The honey badger, also known as the ratel, is a mammal in the weasel family, widely recognized across Africa. It is a small carnivore, yet known for a bold, determined, and unpredictable nature. Despite its modest size, its survival instinct makes many predators keep their distance. With a flexible diet, from insects and honey to reptiles and small animals, it endures shifting environmental conditions. Thanks to strong adaptability, the honey badger is widely distributed across Africa, West Asia, and India. On the scorching savanna, where each waterhole becomes a boundary of survival, a compact tank moves forward in silence. It is the honey badger, a small animal known for rarely backing down, even against opponents far larger than itself. Ahead stands an elephant weighing around 13,000 pounds. A single response from the giant is enough to make the ground tremble, sending dry dust swirling into the air. The honey badger is knocked aside, rolling across the ground like a toy thrown off course. Yet its low build, along with thick, loose skin, allows it to absorb impact better than many other animals. Moments later, it rises again and continues closing in on the opponent's long legs. The challenge does not end there. When facing an antelope many times its size, the honey badger once again moves into a risky distance. The antelope immediately braces, using its horns to fling the smaller animal nearly 20 feet. Even so, the determined creature quickly regains its balance. If the honey badger's boldness ranks second, it is difficult to imagine any animal claiming the first place. Across the parched grassland, the African ostrich leaves behind a rare source of energy. An egg weighing nearly 3 pounds. Its light-colored shell, about 0.08 inches thick, is strong enough to withstand intense heat and environmental pressure. The curved shape and smooth surface make it difficult for most foragers to find a point of entry. As a result, the egg is both a valuable reward and a complex survival challenge. The honey badger, however, does not approach this task through strength alone. It uses its snout and forelimbs to roll the egg across the ground. It constantly changes direction to locate hard stones, exposed roots, or uneven terrain, Each slip away from the target is not a failure, but an opportunity to adjust distance and angle. Eventually, a crack forms along the shell, revealing a rich source of protein and fat. In that moment, the honey badger shows that its persistence is not reckless. It observes, experiments, and turns the landscape into a tool of its own. In the tall grasses of the savanna, where every movement can be concealed, a rock python over 12 feet long moves silently through the dry cover. It does not rely on speed to overpower its opponent. Its strength lies in patience, camouflage, and a sudden approach at very close range. The moment it detects the threat, the honey badger steps into danger with a nature that does not easily retreat. It presses forward, shifting direction to avoid being cut off. Yet a single mistimed move against an ambush predator can shift the balance. The python coils, tightens the gap, and forces the badger into a disadvantaged position. At the peak of this tense standoff, a pair of jackals appears at the edge of the grassland. Their presence divides the python's attention. In that brief instant, the honey badger pivots, breaks free from control, and regains the initiative. The ability to exploit even the smallest changes in nature allows the honey badger to prevail. Eating a wide range of foods, the honey badger still favors snake meat above all. Its familiar prey includes highly venomous species such as cobras, vipers, and mole snakes, often hidden deep within dense brush. For most animals, that terrain is a danger zone best avoided, where a single sudden strike can shift the entire balance. To hunt prey with spring-like reflexes and venom that can be projected up to about 6 feet in under 0.3 seconds, the honey badger relies on more than boldness. Its true strength lies in a remarkable resistance to venom granted by nature. This biological defense allows it to endure challenges that many other species cannot withstand. Even after taking bites carrying enough venom to overwhelm a larger animal, the honey badger's body typically enters a temporary inactive state for about 2 to 3 hours. As the effects gradually subside, it regains awareness and continues its journey. In the wild, this is not immortality, but a rare form of adaptation. A craving for rich, sweet nutrition drives the honey badger to follow traces toward a wild beehive. Its intelligence allows it to read environmental signals, including the presence of a honey-guide bird. Honey, wax, and larvae provide high energy, becoming a valuable reward during foraging. Yet that reward is always protected by a coordinated defensive system. High on branches over 20 feet above the ground, thousands of bees cluster around the hive. With foreclaws nearly 2 inches long, the honey badger grips the trunk, climbs steadily, and breaks through the outer layer to reach the honey inside. At once, the colony surges outward to defend its territory. A series of stings creates intense pressure, but dense fur and thick skin help reduce the impact. It remains persistent, continuing to feed within the chaotic swarm. In the wild, such endurance is not a form of invincibility. It is a resilient survival instinct that allows the honey badger to turn danger into an opportunity for energy. Along the rivers and wetlands of Africa, crocodiles appear as ancient symbols of raw power. With a bite force estimated at 3,700 pounds per square inch and a weight nearing 1,000 pounds, an adult holds a clear advantage in the water. Yet when it leaves the river to bask on land, that heavy body reveals its limits. That gap creates an opportunity for the honey badger, a small but fearless predator. From the riverside brush, it quietly waits for a young crocodile, about 3 feet long, to drift away from deeper water. With teeth strong enough to handle tough hide, the badger moves in quickly, secures the target, and pulls it toward cover. The encounter comes to a close, bringing not only a source of food, but also a stark lesson from nature. Strength in water does not always ensure control on land. With a single shift in environment, even the smaller contender can turn the balance in its favor. The honey badger is often considered one of the most fearless animals on the planet. That courage does not come from size, but from the way it confronts danger. On the African grasslands, where lions dominate, a creature weighing only about 35 pounds can still make larger predators hesitate. The encounter begins as a male lion, weighing around 420 pounds, moves towards the honey badger's foraging ground. Instead of disappearing into the grass, it lowers its body, releases warning sounds, and moves in short, unpredictable bursts. It does not rely on sheer strength, but on persistence, quick reflexes, and the ability to make an opponent think twice. As more lions draw closer, the honey badger raises its final line of defense. A strong scent from its anal glands, combined with feints and a refusal to yield, shifts the tension in the moment. For a brief time, the gap in power between the two seems to narrow. The standoff stretches through a tense rhythm of advance and retreat, eventually causing the lions to pause and give way. For the honey badger, this is not a victory of strength, but a victory of survival instinct. In the wild, the honey badger is not invincible, but very few species are willing to pay the price to challenge it. A single set of tracks across the ice can change the rhythm of life in the Arctic. The polar bear does not hunt with haste, but with patience and precision. Yet it faces more than prey, as it must also compete with others of its own kind. What allows the ruler of the North to endure every challenge the frozen wilderness presents? Across the windswept tundra, herds of caribou travel more than 2,000 miles each year in search of seasonal grazing grounds. Their endurance, ability to cross rugged terrain, and tightly coordinated formation help them adapt to the harsh conditions of the far north. Even while crossing icy rivers, the herd maintains its steady movement to protect calves and slower members. Although caribou are not a common food source, the polar bear knows how to seize an opportunity while traveling on land. It quietly reads the wind, takes advantage of the snow-covered terrain, and patiently waits for a calf or a weakened animal to drift away from the herd. Only when the distance is close enough does the bear accelerate to about 25 miles per hour, quickly closing the gap before its target can rejoin the group. For an adult caribou, the challenge becomes far greater. It constantly changes direction, relies on its speed, and enters icy water in an effort to escape. Yet the polar bear's powerful swimming ability allows it to continue the pursuit. When the moment is right, the bear brings its hard-earned meal ashore, gaining the valuable energy it needs to endure the long, unforgiving months of the Arctic winter. Beluga whales are a symbol of intelligence and adaptability in the Arctic waters. With their streamlined white bodies, a layer of blubber about 5 inches thick, and a weight of nearly 3,000 pounds, they are well adapted to freezing temperatures, deep dives, and navigating through sea ice. But when the ocean is divided by narrow leads, their underwater advantage is no longer absolute. A polar bear cannot dive deep enough to pursue a beluga in open water. Instead, it turns cracks in the sea ice into a natural trap. From the edge of the ice, the predator waits patiently for hours, remaining as still as the surrounding snow. When a beluga surfaces after holding its breath for nearly 20 minutes, the bear immediately uses its position to gain an advantage along the icy water's edge. During summer, beluga pods migrate into shallow coastal waters, where conditions are warmer and safer for their calves. Near rocky shallows, the polar bear waits in ambush, watching for the rising tide to narrow the distance to just a few feet. As the belugas move into shallow water, their freedom of movement becomes more limited, while the bear's strength becomes the deciding advantage. These hunts are uncommon and are not always successful. Yet every opportunity demonstrates the patience, intelligence, and environmental awareness of the Arctic's top predator. Polar bears do not only hunt for food, they must also face rivals of their own kind. These encounters are often brief, yet they can determine access to food and mating opportunities. Across the sea ice, a single meeting is enough to erase the distance of safety. When two adult bears approach the same food source, tension builds in silence. They move slowly, lock eyes, and rise up to display their size. In most cases, the weaker bear retreats because wasting energy in extreme cold carries greater risk than giving up the opportunity. If neither one backs down, the distance closes, and a brief test of strength determines the advantage. During the breeding season, competition between adult males becomes even more intense. Size, experience, and physical condition all influence access to a mate. Even so, most confrontations end when one bear recognizes that the risk has become greater than the reward. For a mother traveling with her cubs, the situation is entirely different. An adult male can become a serious threat, prompting the mother to stand in front of her young and charge as a warning. At that moment, the conflict is no longer about food, but about protecting the next generation. Across the sea ice, polar bears survive by displaying strength, judging risk wisely, and retreating when the moment demands it. Unlike seals, which provide the essential fat they rely on, polar bears use salmon and seabirds as strategic supplemental food sources when the sea ice melts. During the brief summer, when temperatures can approach 50 degrees Fahrenheit, changing conditions force them off the ice and onto land. At this stage, every small source of protein becomes increasingly important. Along coastal cliffs, thousands of seabirds, including guillemots and puffins, gather to nest. The bear approaches quietly, using its keen sense of smell to locate eggs and chicks. It moves along the shoreline or carefully climbs steep terrain to avoid alerting the colony too soon. When an opportunity appears, the bear acts swiftly, making the most of the available food before the birds can respond as a group. At river mouths, where salmon swim upstream through water only a few feet deep, the polar bear switches to a close-range hunting strategy. It guides the fish into narrow channels or shallow water, where they have less room to maneuver. Although this food source cannot replace the rich blubber provided by seals, it helps the bear maintain its condition and extend its chances of survival. polar bears depend almost entirely on seals, which provide about 90% of their energy intake. A seal's thick layer of blubber is a vital source of fuel, allowing the bear to build energy reserves and maintain body heat in conditions that can fall below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Every successful hunt is more than a meal. It can mean the difference between exhaustion and making it through the harsh season. Across the sea ice, the polar bear demonstrates the skill of a true master of stealth. After spotting a resting seal, it quietly swims beneath the icy water, while its dense double coat and thick layer of body fat help retain heat and minimize heat loss. As it reaches the edge of the ice, the bear carefully watches, adjusts its position, and launches a sudden strike. Even so, the success rate remains below 15% because seals remain highly alert. A second hunting strategy takes place at breathing holes, where seals must surface for air. The bear may wait in ambush for hours or even days, remaining almost completely motionless in the freezing wind. Once the timing is right, it quickly secures the opportunity and blocks the seal's escape in an instant. If successful, the bear gains a valuable source of energy from a layer of blubber that can be up to about 4 inches thick. In the Arctic, survival depends on far more than strength alone. It is the combination of patience, instinct, and remarkable adaptability that allows the polar bear to thrive. That precision has transformed the unforgiving sea ice into the polar bear's kingdom. In the Arctic, few challenges demand more caution from a polar bear than a herd of walruses. A full-grown walrus can weigh more than 2,500 pounds, with tusks nearly 3 feet long and a layer of blubber almost 6 inches thick, forming a powerful natural defense. Against such an advantage, a direct attack often costs far more energy than it is worth. Rather than relying on strength alone, the polar bear depends on patience and careful judgment. It quietly watches from the edge of the ice, using the wind and every gap in the herd's formation to move closer without drawing attention. When the distance is right, the bear suddenly applies pressure, prompting the herd to shift towards the water's edge. In that brief moment of confusion, a calf or a weaker walrus may become separated from the protection of the group. The opportunity, however, disappears quickly. Adult walruses immediately regroup, tighten their formation, and use their impressive size to protect one another. If the bear recognizes that the risk outweighs the reward, it chooses to withdraw and wait for another opportunity. Across the unforgiving sea ice, success belongs to the one that conserves energy and acts at exactly the right moment. Across the Arctic sea ice, the polar bear stands as the region's largest predator. An adult male can weigh more than 1,000 pounds, giving it the strength to travel long distances through biting winds. Its broad paws, thick layer of body fat, and insulating fur allow it to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Its powerful sense of smell enables it to detect prey from miles away. But as the sea ice continues to shrink, every hunt becomes an even greater test of survival. Through each hunt, the honey badger shows that strength is not defined by size alone. It survives by observing, adjusting its strategy, and making use of what the environment provides. In the wild, opportunity often belongs to those who understand their own limits. Persistence only becomes meaningful when guided by the ability to adapt. If you want to explore more moments like this from the natural world, like and subscribe so you do not miss what comes next.